Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my model room. Today's video is going to be the update on the AMT 2021 Dodge Charger RT. Now the first thing I did is what I do with every kit is I go through and I clean up all the parts as much as I can. The body lines off the body and the mold lines off the body, I should say, and deepen the panel lines, stuff like that, trim any excess flash. Very, very, very little flash on this one, as you would expect from a brand new tooling. So that's what I did. I did all that, and then I gave it a bath in some Dawn dishwater, like I always do, whether it needs it or not. I don't care. I do it just for that extra insurance against any paint snafus that are going to creep up. So I did all that, and then I glued a couple of parts together, the seats and seat backs and the engine halves, stuff like that. It's easier to paint some of that stuff when it's put together. So I did that, and then it was time for primer, which is a stage that I'm in right at this second. You'll see the different stages, the primer and the paint, on this update. So I'm going to show you the primer real quick, okay? So on the primer, I painted some parts in, I painted the body parts in green, and then I had some green left over in my cup, because I always pour more than I need, and I can always just pour it right back into the bottle there. So I did the body and some other parts in green. I'm going to show you the gray parts I did first. I did the rest of the parts in gray, so I used the green and the gray. Stynylrez primer. Here is the back seat. Most of this gray covered in basically one coat. Really, really nice. The part of the exhaust and the other part of the exhaust. Okay, that's in gray, and then that'll be done in my Vallejo metal color chrome. Some interior parts, more interior parts. Steering wheel, steering column, the console, a couple other pieces to be put on there. This right here was a separate piece. The disc brake assembly with the calipers and everything. Some of the sprue. Here's the interior panel here. Some other parts, engine parts and stuff. Coil packs, the intake, the bottom. Painted all that. Primed all that. The chassis, there's the green, body color. Fenders, fender wells there. I did in green. And then gray for the bottom. I'll paint this in silver when I get to it. Couple more sprue parts. The bottom of the engine, the oil pan and transmission pan. Suspension pieces, more engine pieces. More suspension pieces, the door panels. There's the belts and pulleys, a couple more suspension pieces, the rear end and drive shaft, the engine cover. All that in gray. Door panels. All this will get painted in a blackish color. That up there. And the various other things such as the dashboard. In the front seats. So all that's in gray. Some of the green parts I did, the firewall, this is actually going to be black. It says body color on the instructions, but all the Google searching I did, these all look black on the actual car. The engine halves put together, the block and the transmission. That transmission pan and oil pan piece covers all that. So you're not going to see any mold lines or any, not mold lines, but any connecting point lines there where they go together. Just fan stuff. You know, this stuff doesn't matter if it's what it's primed in, because it's going to get painted black. All that stuff. So I just had some extra green out, and I did that. Finished what was in the airbrush. Here's the mirrors. Go to the hood. This is just olive green primer, the Steinerez olive green primer, guys. Not the actual color. Although it might be able to pass for it. Throw some clear on it, and it might pass for the color. But I want some metallic in mine, so. And we go to the back end, the rear end here. All in primer, ready to go. This sprayed very smoothly, 3 coats. I did 2 lighter coats and a cover coat, and it is super, super smooth. No sanding necessary. Very, very smooth. And now to the body. Once again, just very, very smooth. No texture at all. This sprayed on nicely this time. So I'm just going to go straight to the paint, and that's what I'm going to be doing next. I'm going to be mixing up the color, and I'm going to spray the color on all the body and all the body parts. Then I will get the rest of the parts painted, and you'll see in just a minute how things turned out. Okay, so now we move on to the painted parts. We'll start with some parts I painted with aluminum, the MIG Amel Metal Acrylic Color Matte Aluminum, and the Vallejo Metal Color Chrome. On some of the parts here, some of these pieces that go into the chassis pan. The chassis pan I did in the Vallejo Chrome. These other pieces I did in aluminum. I will clear them. I'll coat them with various sheens of clear, matte and gloss, to try to get those subtle little differences in shade that you see sometimes. Okay, but all these were in aluminum. And this was in the chrome. Some other pieces in aluminum. The rear end housing, differential. More of these pans here. Suspension piece. The engine, the bottom of the engine here, I did in the chrome. Moving to the calipers and brakes and stuff was done with the chrome, as was the exhaust. I'll use some Panline accent color to help detail a little bit on the exhaust part. And then right here, these usually are like a goldish color, the catalytic converters there, so you get those in a gold. But so that's pretty much the exhaust colors. Move all things aside, and we'll get to some of the black parts here that I did. I left some matte using just apple barrel black, which dries to a matte finish, which would be a lot of the radiator pieces, radiator and the fans, the front body, lower chassis cover there, and some of the other covers that go on. Get a little flex on them there that go on the chassis as well. Then like the engine cover and some of these suspension pieces I did in Createx opaque black, which gave it a little bit of a semi-gloss look. the intake, stuff like that. Firewall, like I said, most of the research I did showed the firewall was not body color, that it was black. The engine, I still have to tape off and paint the transmission in an aluminum color, and I will do that a little bit later. These kinds of things I'll show you in the categorical updates, I guess you could call it, when I do the engine and the suspension detailing and assembly. I'll show you this stuff, that stuff there. You have the grill and the back area there that goes on the back end. Createx opaque black. Not really going to see all this stuff once the engine cover gets put on the engine and all that, but your coil packs. So all that was done in Createx opaque black or apple barrel matte black. Can't forget the wheels. I'll further detail these and show you how I do that. But just the basic painting is done on pretty much everything. The basic painting. Now all I'll show you is the detail painting after this update. Let's go to the interior. In the interior, I used a color called Pavement, which is like a light black. I mixed it with some apple barrel black to get to this. It's not quite black, but it's not quite gray either. It shows up a little bit different on the camera when you put black up against it. There is a difference, a small difference, but there is a difference. And that's what I was going for, because when I do the seats and the door panels and stuff, I may have some black to do in there to kind of two-tone the interior. I like to have a little bit of shade differences in my interiors when I do them. Like on the seats and stuff, the middle part of the seats here will be done in black, and that's going to give it a little bit of a contrast color there to break it up a little bit, so it's not all just one solid color. I don't normally like to do the interiors all in one solid color, and I'll do the same with the back seat. You see the dashboard, that's all interior color. I did the steering wheel, the steering column, the console, all that stuff. So all that was done in the Pavement and black mixture. So now we'll get to the body parts. I'm going to dig them out of my box here. I actually painted the body first. And we'll start with the back end. You see where that black piece goes. But for this, I started with Createx Pearl Lime. And I mixed in some opaque black, one drop at a time. I started with 2 or 3 drops to my bulk of Pearl Lime, and then I just started adding 1 drop at a time until I got the right color. I did get it a little bit darker than I was actually aiming for, but I'm still within the range of darkness that I want, that I was looking for. So not quite on the pictures that I showed, but pretty close, and I'm pretty happy with the shade, with the color. Very much so. It actually was a little bit lighter in the mixing cup, and it darkened up once I got it on the body. So I am extremely happy with it. It laid down nice and smooth. We'll get to the front end. I think these front ends on these Chargers are pretty mean looking. But all this nice and smooth, very smooth. Really digging it. That might be where that grill piece goes, instead of on the back end, like I keep saying. The mirrors. Can't forget the mirrors, guys. Body color mirrors. We'll move on to the hood. Smooth, just so smooth it went on. So happy about this paint job. I still have to clear it yet, and then wet sand it, polish it, wax it about a week after I clear it. Let's see here, today's what, Monday the 17th. I'll clear it tomorrow the 18th, and probably give it 6 or 7 days before I wet sand, polish, and wax it. That'll give me time to work on all the other sub-assemblies, the engine, the chassis and suspension, and the interior. So give me plenty of time to do that. Into the main body. Just everything laid down so smooth. Once again, so happy with it. Loving the color I mixed up. A little bit darker than, like I said, than what I first envisioned, but perfectly happy with it. Gonna look great once it's cleared and polished and I get the black stripes on it. I think it's gonna look great. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this update. Stay tuned for further updates as I get more done on the sub-assemblies, the engine and chassis, the interior, and the rest of the body here. Those will be coming up a little bit later as I get them done. Until then, thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll see you next time.